So, yeah, let me just click here. So yeah, for today, we want to build a landing page. We start from design. I'll show you what we are aiming to build. I'll show you the approach I normally do to build any web page. And also, I want to, so as usual, for those who are new here today, I want to tell you that our workshops, we want to involve you into the conversation. So if you have any questions when I'm writing code and explaining, if you have any question, just interrupt me and feel free to ask anything. So I will explain what I'm doing, or well, basically, yeah. So anything, if you don't know the concept, if you don't have an experience with HTML or CSS, or it is weird, something weird what I'm doing, that's absolutely fine. You just feel free to ask, interrupt me, ask, and I'm happy to answer and explain. So it's not just a one-way conversation. It's actually a workshop. So hopefully you'll ask questions, and we'll have a nice conversation. So let's start from the actual plan for today. So we want to have a design, which we have. I will open in a second. Then we will split everything into boxes. So we call it framing. When you just take the design, convert to the boxes to understand what kind of groups of elements you want to create. And then we start building HTML, then we start CSSing, and we will do that like step by step. So we'll take the first section, do HTML, CSS, then start with the next section, and again and again and again and again. I'll show you how to build HTML quickly, not just by creating separate tags, but using Emmet. For some of you that might look like magic, but it is great. This is pre-built functionality of VS Code, and yeah, so we will do that. Let me show the design. So before we start, does anyone have any questions? Good start, right? Why I don't have permissions? Let me check. Beautiful. Give me a second. Sorry. This is really odd. We open. Last time we open Figma. Pam, param, pam, pam. There's our landing page that we want to build. This one. Okay. Update. Not now, for sure. So this is the plan for today. We want to build. This is like a typical workflow that you have with designers. When you work in a team or you're freelancing, but you're interacting with designers, this is how you just basically work with them, because you get in design, right? Sorry, let me just admit more people. And yeah, so all of you have this link. If you don't, let me know. I'll basically I can share it now, so you can actually. I see a few people, a few people here already. So let me just save, export, share. Sorry, share blind me. Can you share it, please? Sure. Yeah. Use the link. Can view. Copy link. Here it is. So even if we not finish our landing today, you still be able to get an access to this page and try to finish by yourself. Okay. One second. Yeah, this time I'm recording video. Thank you. Yeah, so let's talk about design. So this is what you normally get from designers, right? And I use Figma. Figma is easy to share, as you can see. You just need to have a link, and you can interact with. You as a designer, you can design something, and then you can just share with others, and you can view this project. You can't modify it, but you can view it. So which is nice, because as a developer, all you need really to do is to have an access to the design. And you can basically take the assets, and I'll show you how to do that, how you can get assets from here and see how to work with this design. So yeah, we have a few sections. First is, by the way, if something is too small, let me know again. I know that sometimes it might be too small for you. This is the first section. We have just navigation. We have some highlighting of the current position. We have the image on the background. We have some titles. Then we have two sections of the text and some images. Then we have 3 cards. Then we have a nice layout of images and potentially links to somewhere else. And we have the footer. It's not very complicated landing page. I hope that we can quickly build it. Again, that might be, if I'm rushing and you think that it is too fast, again, just let me know. I'll slow down and explain it to you what I'm doing if you need, or just do it slower. Okay, so I think the next step is actually to frame it. So what I want to do here is, let me just quickly export. Maybe I can rectangles. Can I do rectangles? I think I can. So if yeah. The only thing that I need to change here is just to fill the move. That stroke should be 3, 4 maybe, say 5, and red. It's too big, maybe 3. Or yeah. Sorry, where's my rectangle? Stroke 3, and for my instance red. So we start in framing everything, right? So I want to show you that first I'm splitting the section into groups of elements that I want to have, because you definitely, everyone, if you try to build your own websites, you face that when you start with HTML, you start building blocks, then you try to write CSS, then you're failing and try to refactor your HTML, then you go back to CSS, try to move your elements, you're struggling with that, you refactor CSS, etc. And that happens because you haven't prepared to write CSS actually, and you need to do this framing first, and this technique you'll develop with time. You'll develop that technique because for you it just takes practice. And I was lucky to join on my very beginning of my career. I joined the company where I was building layouts like on daily basis, and I built a lot, like HTML, CSS, and all these templates. That was huge amount of work, and but I developed that feeling. So now when I'm looking on the design, I already know how I will split it, because for me, I already know how to do that. For you, if you start in your career, you need every single design you take, you need to build these frames. You need to divide all sections into smaller sections and see how to build your HTML first. So let's start here. We have the top container, the whole, let's say, main section we have here, right, as one thing. Next up, in this section, I have two more blocks. First block, right, for my navigation, again, stroke, and I want to change the color so I know that they're in different levels. Stroke here, and I want to have another group. Let's do this like that, right? Another one. Let me just take the other, something like that, right? So this is the first section, and this is pretty much it. We potentially, because we have, you can see that we actually have a grid. I'm not a designer, but I try to find the grid. Maybe I don't have this plugin here online. Yeah, potentially. So let me just try to make sure that I'm actually don't have this plugin. Oh no, I have. See that we have a grid, right? So we have 12 columns, and everything is fit into this grid. And for us, this grid is each 70 pixels, and I believe 20 in between. So 70 multiply 12, probably plus 20, plus 20. I think the gap 180. And I believe, I might be wrong, but the default width for such things is 124. So we will stick with that number. So yeah, we have two things. And I would say on the very beginning, before we start, I would say that we want to actually, in this container, in this green container, we want to create another wrapper for actual grid, for the width, for max width that we will use. So what I will do, I will add another layer of div. Right, when you create in divs, don't really care about how many you have. It's just to make sure that you have. What's the name of the plugin? Which plugin? Sorry. So the grid, I think that might be, if you click on the main layout, I think that might be visible here, layout grid. So it is pre-built. I was thinking that it is not, because I think it's in Sketch you need to install one, but here it is a part of the application. So let me just open this one and create another container, right? And make it stroke. Again, this is a different level, so I'll change the color. And here we'll have 2. My gosh, white didn't change. All right, something like that. Okay. Control V. And I will do another thing, right? This is another one. Looks right for me. So yes, I think this is it for the first section. Give me a second. Oh, sorry, I haven't. Danielle, by the way, you're unmuted. Just in case. Okay. So here we've divided the first section. Let me just switch off the grid. Here for the next section, it's simpler a bit, right? So we have something similar. So that will be your container. So I will put everything into that container, right? Into this section. Because this is what we have. And here I will have 2 rows, right? So I want to create another section. And basically, if you have repetitive sections, you don't need to frame all of them, because you understand that I will repeat myself here because they are identical. So for this one, here, I will do, again, another color. It would be nice actually to be consistent and just use same colors. So here, 2, come on, I'm pressing 1, 2, and for this one that should be red, right? The top one should be red. Something like that. And here, I just make it, I will shrink it a bit so we see where is the edge. And here I will have 2 groups again inside, 2 more divs. One for this one and one for this one. Right? Let me just style both of them. So this is bluish. Yep. So 2, something like that. This is for 2 sections. And we will continue with the rest when we get there. I don't want, theoretically we can do that here. That should be easy, right? So the very top one is just everything. And stroke. You might think that this is just a boring process because let me build. But trust me, you'll save a lot of your time when you do this approach. So here, this is title, right? This is subtitle. They are block elements, and they will take full width by itself. But we want to wrap. We actually want to use just our container, right? Because we have nothing else. So we can actually wrap it. You might also think that we actually have a gray background, so it depends. If you want to change, let's say that white is default color for our page, that means that we actually want to have the wrapper, so we can set the background color to gray. So that should be like this. The next section, you will have your container for your, like the grid. So 1024 widths, right? And this one green, width 2. So here you'll create another card. Again, because we have 3 cards, I don't want to frame all of them because this is the same thing. So I will just frame 1, and we have blue, and we have 2. And inside this section, again, I want to create another block for the image. I already forgot one block for these 3, but I will fix it in a second. And here we have, just let me again add some stroke. Some kind of dark blue, let's say. 2. And we want to have the last one, which should be the all 3, right? The whole section. Again, changing color to some pinkish, and to 2. Yeah. Right, so and these 2, they are, theoretically you want to group them as well. So let me just, where's my, sorry. So click on this one. Ooh, great. Not this section, this. Wait a second, I'm looking for the element. Okay, yeah, let me just create another one quickly. R, and I want to group this one, right? My text all together, because I want to move this one as well all together. So what is the point? What is the logic behind this grouping? So when you start grouping elements, you need to think first, if you have an image, you want to wrap it into their own container, because you have different shapes of images and you want to make sure that here, if I have the different shape of this image, if it's a portrait oriented or landscape oriented, you want to handle that. And you want to, but the actual design should be the same, and you don't want to have gaps on left or right, or top and bottom, right? So you want to fit the container, the natural container. So you create a div specifically for this image. That is why every time you have an image, you want to have the container, the wrapper for this specific image. Next thing, if you change the direction of your layout, you need to create another wrapper. In our case, we go from vertical flow to horizontal flow here. That is why I'm wrapping my 3 elements, because I will change direction for these guys. That is why I need to have a wrapper, a separate wrapper. Also, you want to group similar type of elements into one thing as well. So we can apply the same rule here. We just want to basically group similar cards into one thing. And I would say you want to group elements that you want to move all together. Like in our case here, we have the image and we have the group of text. So we want to move it together, top and bottom. This is how it works. And yeah, we will get to this point in a few moments. Okay. Let's have some fun. Let's actually start building something. Yeah, let me just quickly copy the whole thing. So we have 2 identical things, right? One I will have without all these rectangles. Another one I will have is rectangles. So I can actually take some assets from here. Cool. Give me a second, I'll open the terminal. So cd desktop, okay, here. I'm just opening my code editor. Some new version. New terminal. Probably don't need to have terminal for today, but yeah. So let's start. So we are in my folder. I want to create my index.html, right? HTML. And the shortcut to create the very basic layout is just exclamation mark and hit tab. And you get your basic layout. So I will add a title, landing page. Yeah. Can anyone tell me where we will see this title? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jimmy, on the top. So if I open my index.html, it opened in my second screen, sorry, I will put it back. We can actually see landing page here, right? Because this is a title. I will open the spec as well, so we can actually see what's going on here. Yeah, so let's actually, first few things before you start any project is like let's do it pre-setup. So first thing, you might don't know, but different browsers have different default stylings. And if you develop, if you don't reset it and build your website in Chrome, for example, because you use it for development, and that will look nice, Somebody can open your website in Internet Explorer or Mozilla, and they will have different default stylings, and that might break your layout a bit. It's not drastically different, but still you will have some odd gaps or odd stylings. To fix that, what you want to do is just to use normalize. Normalize CSS. So this is what we do. You can download it as a file, because basically normalize CSS is just a regular CSS file with different CSS stylings, just regular CSS. It's just resetting default properties, rewriting them. So this is what we normally have. Let me just download it. So I'll download. Okay, so I'll just select, copy, create a file for that. I'll create a folder for CSS, so we will keep everything clean. So in CSS, I'll create a file, normalize. Hopefully I spell it right. Did I? Normalize, yeah. Normalize.css. Ooh. So you can name it whatever you want. I'm just try to keep it keep the same name. Yep. So here we have the normalize. So first thing I want to add actually normalize link, and I'm adding. So with tag link you can add your CSS, and I'm selecting CSS. I'm building the path, and this is normalize CSS. This is the first CSS file that you want to add to your project before you start your journey with building your website. So every page should have this one. Next up, we actually want to have our CSS. So let's create style. Yeah, so I want to have I want to have file style.css. So I need to create one because I still don't have it. So now style.css. Great. I can open in split right. So we can have CSS on the right side at the same time as we have on the left side, HTML. Okay, so we definitely need to have a folder images, because we will copy some images from here and we will need to store somewhere, right? So let's go back here. So first thing, as well, before we start, again, this is all about setup. I need to see what is the font family here, and looks like we use Roboto. Does anyone know how to add fonts to the website, the page? No? Go fonts. So, Roboto is a Google font. That is why I'm going to Google Fonts. And I will, this is the first one, right? So you can search, but this is the first one. So what I want to use is potentially thing, maybe just a regular, and potentially bold, right? So 3 fonts. Now you can just copy this link and add it to your HTML on the very beginning, before you have your stylings, right? So you add in your, it is important, so you want to have your link with fonts before, right? Before your styling, so you can use these these fonts inside your stylings. Okay, so copy this one, and now to use this, you just need to have this one in your CSS file. So I'll copy in here, and if I go back to my CSS, I will select all elements and set font family Roboto, and as a fallback, if for some reason you can't load Roboto, it will fall back to sans serif. Okay, next thing, which might be not very obvious, I want to use change box sizing. And for many of you, you might think, what the heck is box sizing? and I'll show you the example in a second. Border box. So what is that? Imagine that I have div with class box. So I want to style this element, and I'll show you the difference. Let me turn off this one, and I want to set width to 200 pixels, right? And padding to 20 pixels. This is it. And background, probably background, so you can see background color to green, just to make it visible. So let's refresh. We have this box, right? Maybe let's set the height as well. Height 200 pixels. Ooh. Something like that. Yeah, so we have it. The problem is that now if you go here, you're checking and see that the actual size is 240 and 240. So if you have you want to build a grid on your website, and you want to make the widths and of your elements or height of your elements predictable. And if you, by default, as you can see, I set width to 200 pixels, but it's not. It takes 240. And that happens because it takes padding and expanding the size of the element with the padding, right? So now we have 240. And to fix this and to make your HTML predictable on the website, you want to use border box. I'll show you here. So I think that we somewhere here. Because I commented out, I can tick and untick. So if I tick, now my padding see that the whole element shrinked because my padding included into my width. So now if I'm saying that I want to have an element with width 200, that will just shrink the size of the content area, right? And the element will have 200 pixels in total. So if I hover on the element, now it is 200 pixels indeed, right? So this is the difference. So to make your element size to be predictable, you need to add to every single element box size in border box. This is how it works. Okay, I think now finally we are ready to start writing our HTML. Like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, beautiful. So we did a setup. Now we can quickly start styling. So where is our first section? So we have the whole section, let's call it main, right? And we have two things, navigation, and we have something, I don't know, section, some text here, right? So what I will do, I will create main. And this is what I said, that for you that might be magic. So I can create main, right? And inside I can create navigation potentially, and there I can create UL, and there I can create a li and maybe a few LIs. So I'm just copying them. So this is very, very long story. And now I need to add some classes maybe. That will take time. But with Emmet, I can type main, and here, inside my main, I want to have two things. So first, that will be my navigation. And inside my navigation, I will have UL with class nav item, right? And inside, I want to have a li with class nav item. Oh, no, sorry, now list, right? Because this is lists. And here, now potentially just list item or nav list. And because it is inside, item. Something like that, right? And I want to have 3 of them or 5. So, and I want to multiply 5. And maybe just to, as a template to see some data, I can create text inside, like item and $sign, that will represent the position. So that will be 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. Okay, so we've done this layout for navigation. Next section is, let's say, section. I'll call section. And there, remember our layout. Ooh, I forgot about my container, right? So I forgot here. I want to wrap this one into the container. So I want to have div with class container, because I will add default stylings for all my containers. Something like that. So navigation, inside we have div with class container. Inside this we have UL with class navlist, and inside we have 5 allies with some text and classes and class. So next up is section, then again div.container, and there inside I will have 2 elements which will be for example h2 and h1. Yeah, so h2, let's call it with class subtitle and some text subtitle, plus I want to have h1 with class title, and there I will have title. So this is it, basically. We will add an image later, but for now, look at this. So we have this string, which we built like in 3 minutes, hit tab, and we have the whole layout, everything. Yep. So for those who want to test it, I can share here in our channel. But yeah. So, and you just created the layout. I will save, go back to the browser, refresh, and I have the layout. Great. Now, we're done with CSS, with HTML, sorry. We just need to add some, stylings. The only bit that I'm missing is, is an image, right? So I need to export this image. Let me select this image, and I just, so again, Figma is great, and you can use it because when you double click on the asset, you can actually export this asset, right? And I'll do that here to my images. I will call this one Wave. Wave is a good name actually for this one. So Wave PNG. Hello. You might need to turn off your microphone just in case. Yep. Okay. So we've saved the asset, and we will add this image in a second. So let's start styling. So we have main, right? So first of all, for this main, I want to set the height of this section, full height of my viewport, because every time when you open the website, I want to see this section for the full view screen, for the whole view, like a main section, landing section. So to do that, I'm just saying main height, because I still want to make flexible if I have more content, but main height should be 100, not percent, but VH, which is viewport height. So save, and let's set background color should be black, right? So this is what we have. If I refresh the page, you will not see all items because they are black, and we will have the background black. Yeah? Beautiful. Almost. So we have some gap, but this is because we have elements inside with margin, and you can see that our default margin for UL is that margin. So we will fix it in a few seconds. The next thing that before we start with main stylings, I want to add this container class, container, which should have just width. Sorry, it should have max width. Should have max width with 1024 pixels. Remember that we discussed that the grid, our grid, should take 1024. But if you have on smaller screen, it shouldn't take the full width. So I would say, because you want to have the, when you scroll on mobile, for example, or you will see the scroll bar, you want to take only widths 90%. Yeah? So if I save it, go back, make it, right, give me a second. Let's add, just for now, just for testing, background color, green. Just to, you will see what's happening. Yeah, so this is it. It is here. But it should be in the center, right? So see that if I'm shrinking, it starts resizing. So it is flexible, but it gets to the specific one point, 1024, and that will stop. But I want to make it sure that it is in the center. To fix this, I will just add margin, top and bottom 0, and auto left and right. And that will align my section to the center, right? So now if I'm resizing, let me show you, it's 90%, but if I'm getting to that certain point, now it stays as it should. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so next stop, let me remove this one, and potentially for my main, I will change color to white, so we can see our text actually. Refresh, we can see our text. Great. Now here, I want to have a few things to do. I want to style my navigation. So my navigation, nav list, here. Also, I strongly recommend you, when you start styling, do your CSS from top to bottom. So if you start in styling this section, you start in from main, then you style nav. So the order here in your CSS file should be the same. And divide your sections with comments. So here I will call it main section. And in the end of the section, I will have something like that. Okay, so next up is our navigation. So main navigation, that should be, what do you want to see here? I can actually just quickly add some background, again, just for testing. Background color, some antique white. So you can, let me just move it here. Let me actually design put on this side. Yeah, that should work. So refresh, we can see antique white. Yeah, I want to, and again, inside I have my navigation list. So I want to style my navigation list as well. Wait a second, now. Ooh. Actually, see, this is a redundant thing, because we wrap in navigation thing and section. So technically we can just wrap navigation, right, and section into the same thing, just to not repeat ourselves. So now what we have, the hierarchy is main, then container, and then navigation and section. That should be better, yeah. So we want to move our UL to the right, right? It is on the left, so we want to move it to the right. And to do that, I will just convert my navigation container to div to flexbox area. So I will set, yeah, so I'll create a GitHub repo for my code so you can actually continue. Yeah. So here I will do display flex. So now I can use flexbox properties, and here what I will do is just with flexbox properties, I will align with justify content to the flex end, right, to the right, because I want to. So if I refresh, it's aligned, it's kind of aligning to the right, because this is a block element, so it takes the full width, but we will fix it in a few seconds. So next stop is our UL, right? So we have .nav and main nav and now nav list. So that one should be also, so first of all, because this is UL, this is a list, I need to remove default stylings like dots and so this padding and margin, right? We have three things. So first, list style to none to remove dots, then padding 0 to remove padding, and margin 0 to remove margin. So let's see. Yeah, now we are in one without any padding margin, and now you can see that we don't have this gap, white gap on the top because we removed margin. Great. So next stop is, do I need actually display flags? Maybe I don't need display flags for navigation because we have just one element. So maybe I can just do, I can just do this. I can add display flags to my list items, to the actual list and flags end. So let's see what will happen. See that it is in the end now. Let me change this color to something darker. Something very dark. Refresh. Yeah. So now it is aligned here. We still need to style it. We want to, for our, let's say for the list, we might want to change padding actually to, like, I don't know, 2 amps. And amp is based on the font size. So yeah, for us, 2 amps is too big, right? Maybe 1 amp. Refresh. Looks better. But now we have padding left and right. So we want to have top and bottom and 0 left and right. Yes? Because we want to make sure that we align into our grid. Great. So now we can style actually each thing. So we can do something like .now list item, and here we can add some padding. Siri wants to talk with me. So we have padding, and let's say again 1 M, top and bottom, left and right, everywhere. Too big, too big. We want to have some margin, some gaps between them. Let me add some background, some silly background to each. We don't have any stylings for navigation now, just these things, right? We need to add some gaps. We definitely don't want to have left and right, so top and bottom is fine. Maybe we don't want to have this padding there, so you always refactoring your CSS when you're building page. So yeah, that might be better, and maybe not. Maybe actually, maybe to have padding. Let me check. Yeah, that might be better. Okay, let's stick with this one, and we want to use margin. So margin. Top and bottom 0 and left and right 1 M, right? Looks better. Yeah, looks fine, I think. The only problem, actually, we actually want to have margin only on the right, for example, or only on the left. So let me change it to margin left 1 M. And I'll specify margin only on the one side. So now that might be better actually. Yeah? It's definitely better. So our page is quite boring. Let me add our image. So yeah, we can quickly fix it. Let me remove this crazy background. And I will add my image. So it should be here on the main. So image, and this is in images, and that should be our wave, right? And I'll give Alt to our wave. So alt is the title that you will see when you for some reason can't load the image. So this is what you will see, what the image is about. So save, and let me add the class to this one. Class wave. Yeah. So refresh. Beautiful. Look at this one. We definitely need to do some tweaks to fix all of that, right? So first of all, we want to set, where is my wave class? So inside main, I'm looking for my image, wave. And I want to position absolute. And that should be right 0 and top 0, because I want to make sure that it will stick to the right and that will stick to the top, right? Refresh. Look at this. Yeah. So now if I'm moving, it's actually sticking there. It's still covering my text, which is not what I want. So let's try to fix it. Let me select and try to play with stylings. So my image should be position relative. Ooh. Did I? Oh, I already added position absolute, and Z index should be 0 or -1. The problem with -1 is that now it is behind our container, right? So what we can do for our container, I can add another class and put all my content in front. So for my container here, I can add like a main container class, save, and now let me get rid of this one because we're not using it. Main container should has position relative and Z index is 1. So this is a third dimension, right? Like in math, you have basically the third dimension. So if you have a higher number, that means that this item is closer to you. If you have lower number, it can be negative. That means that you're putting your element behind and further from you. So for this one, I will set, I don't know, 10, for example. Refresh. Now you can see that my text is in front. Yeah. I think the only thing that to tweak, maybe we can do bottom 0. Let me test. Do we have my image? Yeah, it won't go there. Yeah, so pretty much this is it for the image. Yeah, we can do it in few actually ways. First thing is to create an image tag. Second thing, you can actually set, so if I commented out this one, and commented out my image, so we don't have the image, I can, to my main container, I can set background. Ooh, I can't set. But for my main, in my case, I can create another element wrapper and set as a background for this element. But in our case, I will not do that. Yeah, because I'm already using background color for main. So yeah, let's stick with the original one. That might be actually even better. Maybe, yeah, let me check. Div with class wave. Yeah, I'll wrap everything into it. And that element should take the full height and the full width of my parent main. So width 100% and height 100%. And now I can set background, background, and here we will have URL, and we will set our image. So I need to go one level up, look for images, and there I have my main. And then I will do right, or maybe center. So I'm positioned vertically and horizontally to center, and background size, I want to set to cover the full area. So if I refresh, beautiful. As you can see, our height is not actually inheriting because it doesn't know what is dynamic height of 100 VH. Oh, because it's actually not, because we don't have actually height. Here we have just min height in dynamic scene. This is like an odd saying of CSS. So to fix this, let me check. Will height auto help? Potentially not. Yeah, indeed, it doesn't. So you can set, let me check if I set to 0. Yeah, this is a trick of CSS. So we need to set height of the parent, so that will inherit from the parent. Stupid saying, but this is a trick of CSS. Yeah, so now we are actually covering the whole section. Next thing, I want to move this down, right? So we have this container, the whole container. This one should take the full height of the parent as well. So main container, where is our main container? That should take full height. So all I want to do is just height 100%, right? So now it takes the full height. And inside we have two elements. And the second one, the section, is actually is small, right? So I want to make sure that it will expand to take the spare space, vertical spare space, so I can align these two into the middle. To do that, what I will do is, let me go to here. So for my main container, I will say that display flex to convert it to flex area. Now we will see them in one line. Crazy, looks like we've broken the page. But now flex direction should be column. We fixed as it was, but now because of that, for my section, I can actually set flex grow 1. So that means that, look at this, if I hover on this element, it is small, right? So it is small, but if I refresh my page and apply my stylings, now it takes the spare space. So now this is a playground to move my elements to the center vertically. And to do that, I will convert my section to flex box area, display flex, and again, flex direction column, right? Because I have two elements. And next thing is should be justify content center. Let's try. Yep. Now we have moved our elements to the center of this container. Looks about right. Yeah, we will have something here, and that looks right for me. So we can actually copy the text. This one and this one. And we can style our H1 and H2. So we can just take this H 2, and keep the order again, because it is important for readability, because you want to read your code in future. So what do we have here? For H1, we have 56, right? And here, font size. So let me check. 56 divided by 14 is 4. So we will set 4M, because default size of font is 14 pixels. That is why 4Ms means 4 times 14, which is 56 in our case. And for the smaller version, we have 33, which is very odd number. 33 divided by 14 is roughly 235. I would say 2.5. Let's do 2.5. Multiply 2.5. 35. Yeah, we'll not lose anything. 2.5. So 2.5 amps, right? Refresh. We have huge margins now. We need to fix this. So for the first element, or maybe even for the second, probably for the second, because it's bigger, margin should be 0. Refresh. Better. Still we have this top margin. So for the first element, I want to say margin top 0. Refresh. Yep. Looks better. The only thing that we forgot is about the very first tiny bit, which is this underline, right? Which I want to show you how to do that, because it's a tricky part. So we have list item. Let me add some color, background color, to some kind of some dark thing. Should be something dark because we have white text. Refresh. We have this. Yep. We can, with pseudo elements, we can create a line behind, and that line can. I'll show you. Let's show you how to do that. Where's my list item? So I can create a pseudo element, which can be, to do that, I'm creating, putting column and doing after. Then you need to add content, which should be at least empty string, because we don't want to have any text, so that should be empty string. Display block, and for us it's like border bottom 2 pixels, so because I want to have height, or maybe we can just set height to maybe 3 pixels for now. And then background color should be green in our case. Let's save, refresh. Now we have it. Yeah. The only thing that we want to position this on the bottom. So what we will do is, we want to set position absolute, and if you do this, look at this one. We have our line somewhere but not here, and this is because we want to position this element absolutely to the parent element, and to do this for the parent element we want to set position relative, but to make sure that it is working. And wait a second, navigation, have after element. Yeah. Oh, so width is 0 now. Beautiful. So we want to set for this position absolute. We have height. We want to set width to 100%. Refresh. We have them. But now we're just setting bottom 0, right? Refresh. They are there. Beautiful. So we can see them. And now we can get rid of our background for a whole item, so we can actually see the items. But we don't want to have 100%. We want to have 50%. So let's change to 50. Great, but we want to have just for the first one, right? So in our case, I'm selecting another thing, which is first element, first child, sorry. For the first child, I want to select after, yeah? So now we will have this only for the first child. But I actually want to make sure that when I want to see this when I'm hovering, not always, maybe. Or maybe I want to add for all of them. Yeah, maybe I want to have for all of them. Yeah, let's do that. But on hover. So after we have for all of them. And I want to change the width actually. So by default, we have 0. We want to have 0. But when I hover, so I'm adding hover, I want to have width 50%. Right? So let's try. Right, sorry, wrong one. So selector is wrong. How to get the recording? I'll send you links to the recording. It is in our YouTube channel. So I need to do this. If I'm hover the element on the element and then do after with 50%. So refresh. Now it is appearing, right? But it's not very nice. It is ugly. I don't like this. We want to have some transition. So what we will do is add some transition. So transition 0.2 seconds, for example. Refresh. Now we have nice animation. Yeah? Beautiful. The last bit is what I was going to say. Let me check. So we have the, oh right, I hate this cursor. We can change this cursor. It should be pointer. So on our item, I just need to set cursor pointer. So refresh. Now I'm hovering. I have this icon, right? Like a hand. I think this is good. I'm happy with this one. Let's move to the next section. So see that HTML doesn't take time at all, but CSS actually takes. And you can play with CSS very, very long just to make it perfect. And I'm not sure that you will get to the point when you think, okay, now it's perfect. It will never be. Great. So we finished with the main section. Let's check the next one. This one is easier, to be honest. We can quickly fix it. We have two simple sections. Yeah, so let me create the whole section, which I will call, I don't know, languages. Let's call it languages. Languages. And there I want to have 2 rows, right? So that should be div with, theoretically, because this is a list, right? So that should be a list. Let me think. So we want to have the container. See that again, we want to keep the grid. So that should be, we want to have container. And we want to add the second class languages. And here we will have, let's say HTML section or just HTML. And this is 2 things, right? So we want to have 2 things plus second thing. For the first thing, HTML. Inside I will have div HTML image section. Image. Yeah. This is the whole block. Plus I want to have div details, right? And inside this div I want to have, let's say h3 and 2 p tags. So h3 plus two p tags. Potentially I want to add like a title and another div, text, and there I will have p multiply 2, something like that. I want to have absolutely the same thing for the next one, but here I want to have CSS. Here we will have CSS language, details, page, yeah. And I think we are done with this section with HTML. Great. Format, beautiful. We have everything we want. See, HTML takes seconds for people to create. And here we will have languages section, right? Section, something like that. Okay, so here I want to have, first of all, in each where we have image, I want to actually have some text. So we can achieve this with after, yeah, let's do this. Let's completely fake everything. So for our title, let me copy this text, and for our p tags, let me copy this one for the p tag, and this one for the next p tag, because it looks like two paragraphs. And for CSS, we just copy to title, and here we will have two paragraphs, right? Let me just remove, yep, and the second paragraph. Look, I think this is it for the refresh. We have everything. We have the whole HTML for the second section. And you might think that I keep the same order, but I'll show you the trick. So for two, I want to have similar classes because they are very similar. And here I will just do like language box, similar class, so I can style them in the same way. So let's start from here. For language box, first step is language box, right? Or not actually, not language box, just HTML. And again, here I want to have something like language container, language wrapper, let's say, save. So we have language wrapper. I want to have this as a flex area. It's actually better if you use display grid, because now you can style it actually in very nice way. So display grid, and you want to have, let me just think. No, you want to keep smart. You want to be smart with sizing. You want to have, in our design, we have a square, right? And we always want to have this square. Even if you start shrinking, you want to have the square here to make it responsive. So we will do that in very hacky way. But I think it is very useful to know when you want to build perfect squares with CSS and HTML. Responsive squares. Okay, so let's do that with flex. So display flex, language wrapper. Now we have two flex sections. So this is language wrapper and language box. Next up is our language box. So language, we have language box, and I want to set widths to, I don't know, 30, 40%, 30%, maybe 40%. Let's say 40%. Maybe that will be too big. Okay, let's start with 40%. And now I want to set background color to, I don't know, yellow. Let's keep with green. Refresh. we have two boxes. Yep. 1 and 2. They're not actually equal. All right, because this one is not actually right. Let me check why we have different widths, because it shouldn't be. This one is why this one is different. So display flex, this one has width 40% and this one has 40%. How is it possible if you have the shared container? This is really odd, but let me fix it in a second. So we have language wrapper. For language wrapper, I want to add margin bottom. Come on, bottom. Let's say 2M, maybe 1M, just to see the space. This is really odd, because it's just 40%. It should be same. This is odd. Let me just show you the trick how to grow the element. So to make sure that you have a perfect square, all you need to do is just set padding bottom yeah, thank you, Lester. So you want to set padding bottom the same 40%, because it takes the same like a base, which is a parent width, to build the height. So now this is even right. Give me a second. So we have widths. Let me just see what we have. This one element. This is completely, it's very weird, to be honest. Very weird. So how it's possible to take from the same place 40% and have different numbers? Okay, let me just, to make sure that I'm not insane, 300 pixels, and let's say, yeah, so padding bottom, let's start from 300 pixels. This is hardcore. It looks I'm insane. I've just set 300. Why is 240? Where did 240 come from? Oh, right, Flexbox. Flexbox just breaking everything. Crazy Flexbox. So what you want to do for your language box is to set flex shrink to 0. So it will not, your Flexbox, because it tries to fit your text, because it's longer, it tries to fit. That is why it shrink the other element. But if you refresh, now we have perfect squares. Woohoo! I'm saved. Yeah, so now we have perfect squares, right? And if I start resizing, we still have perfect squares, almost. On this point, why it takes full? Yeah, that should be a line for this one, a line center, line items. That should be center, something like that. Yeah, so now if I start resizing, see that we have the perfect square, which is great. This is what we want. Responsive, perfect squares. Great. Let's move to the next section. So we've styled our elements, right? And the only thing that I would say to do is for this one, so we have language. After, what we can do for the image, I want to create after element, and I will set content HTML, right? And display block, height 100% and width potential. That might be actually a problem. That might not work, but let's check what we will have. Yeah, so we have our after element. Yeah, the height doesn't work, but this is fine. We can fix it very easily. So width, because it's a block element, it takes the full width. What we can do is, again, to position this element, so let's change font size for a sec. Font size to, I don't know, 4M. Font weight to 700, I think it was 700, and background color should be white, right? This is the plan. Refresh, looks okay. So the only thing that we want to position it, so position absolute, and again, if you position in absolute the child, this one should be position relative. So position absolute, then top 50%, left 50%. That will be slightly shifted to this section, but then you just do transform, translate, minus 50% and minus 50% to put it back to the position. So now it's aligned to the very center, right? So if you start shrinking, you actually have it. Great, and the same identical thing. So for this one, potentially, again, to make it reusable, right? I can get rid of this one and yeah, just remove the second class, and to personalize, so for content, that will be empty. But to personalize titles, I will do something like that. So for image, HTML image, I will set content to HTML, what we had, and for CSS, which is CSS image, I will change it to CSS. Yeah, sounds about right. Let me change to not green, but to black for now. Refresh, great. Another thing, you might ask me, okay, but we have different order in the design, right? So it is here. How to do that? Very, very easy, because with Flexbox, you can actually, for the second row, and we actually have the specific class, right? So language wrapper, what we can do is language wrapper.css. We can say flex direction, row reverse, right? Not just row, but row reverse. Refresh, and now it is here. Yep. We can theoretically, they are big. They are very big. So we can have like 45% or something. Or we can have like 40% for the text potentially. So we can fix it in a few seconds as well, but you got the point that now we are moving our elements. So for languages, sorry, I'm just thinking that for languages we want to add the gap because it's ugly. So where do you have languages? Languages. Margin should be, I don't know, 3M top and bottom, 0 left and right, something like that. Oh, sorry, I just reset container stylings. So margin, you actually want, so that should be auto. Yep. So we have this now. Let's style our elements here. I just don't like the idea that it is, let me start using 50. Yeah, 50 is better. Yeah? Now we have two sections. I think it looks better. It definitely looks better. So here, for text section, we have details class, right? So we have language box, language wrapper, and we will have, so this is CSS. Let's keep CSS separate. So we finished with this one. Here we will have language wrapper dot details, and we want to set some padding. Let's say 2M around. Refresh. I definitely set to the wrong thing. Details. Space. See? Because this is inside our wrapper, so you should have space. Yep. Great. Look at us. Looks okay. So for now, this one, the problem here that it takes not the full height, right? So for our details, we want to actually set height 100%. So details, height. So why it doesn't? Oh yeah, because we don't have height on this one. That is why the height doesn't work. But you can actually change it to align items, because this is vertical alignment stretch. Align self, because you want to align self, this specific element. Is it align self? Self. Self. I think this is spellings killing me. Yeah, so now this one going to the top. But maybe actually it's better to have in the center. It's kind of in the center here, right? Kind of. So maybe let's actually put it in the center. We'll just make it nicer with a few stylings. So for title, for wrapper with HTML, is it for both? Yeah, we use different colors. So what I will do is that just .html, details, space title, and we just do color. And Figma is nice because you can select, copy the color, right, and just use it. Ooh, almost. Just use it. Refresh. You probably want to make it slightly bigger, so font size might be like 2.5 M, let's say. Refresh, maybe 2M. Yep, you have nice color here. The same you want to have for your for CSS. So here, you just say CSS, go back, select this one, copy color, change it, and refresh. Yep, looks good. And we want to change the color for this one. So let me select color. Where do we have this one? So color should be this. Refresh. Yep. Now we have two things. Here we have the image. We can go to the code. We have this image, right? And we want to export this image again. Let's name it code to images, right? So to our details, where's the container? So for the whole box, for the whole box, we don't have background for after, or let me check the structure. So we have this one, and yeah, we want to have the background for this one. So see, it's tinted, right? Here. And we can't have two things at the same time. So what I can do is just background And let's go wild with CSS with filter. So URL, I'll show you what I mean. I will have one level up, images, code, and again, center, background, size, cover, right? We have cover, beautiful. Refresh the page. Great, yeah, but again, it should be tinted. So what I can do is just add filter and say brightness to something 0.2, 20%. Woo. Almost, right? Almost what we want. The only victim of this brightness is our after element, which is sad. What can we do? Theoretically, we can actually put the actual element inside. Sorry, let me close my main so we will not be confused with main. Here, we don't have anything. Maybe we can put some h3 and put HTML, right? And for this one, you just put your CSS. But that means that you don't need actually your after. Let me check. Does it help us? Fresh. Let me just inspect this element. Color. FFF. Yeah, it's still affected with tint. Set times. If I put position relative and z index to front, what we will have? Yeah, still same. Okay, so that will. This one is good. After is good. I'm just thinking the best way to make it sure that it is actually nice and readable. So theoretically, we can set, yeah, maybe that will be the best idea. So for our after, we will set top 0, left 0, right, just wait, yeah, probably right 0, and bottom 0. And let's set some background color for this one. So we don't want to use filter, we just want to set background color to, I don't know, for now green. And you might ask me, okay, yeah, so that will work. The only problem with this one will be, here I want to have RGBA because I want to have opacity, right? 0, 0, 0, 0 point, I don't know, 8 potentially. Refresh, yeah, we have text. And for this one, let me actually inspect the element. We have this after, right? Let me check if I set align items center. Great, it is working, right? So we can use it flexbox to align our things because it is flex, right? Display flex, so we can apply flex items, flex stylings. So align items center, justify content center. Refresh. Beautiful. Look at us. We have an image, we have a tinted color, and everything is aligned. And you're never gonna believe, but everything is responsive. Yeah? We definitely need to change the font size, and we will change, like normally you'll write media queries to make them in as a column, not as a row for small screens. But yeah, we might get to that point. here, next section is this one. So again, I'm not sure what is better, to build this section now, or to show you how to write media queries to make this column. What do you think? Anyone? Media queries. Okay. Any other votes? So we have one vote for, okay, 2 votes for media queries. 3? Yeah, 3 votes. We have 17 people. Okay, 4. I prefer how to do this is as section instead. Okay, 4-1. Come on, more votes, please. No? Okay. 5. Good thing. Yeah, let's do that media queries. This is very short one because it's not actually a lot of things to share with media queries. So we are here to write media queries. Let's say that when we get to the point with, I don't know, 768, this is not 767 to be honest, this is like a default thing, 767, we want to change the order, which is not crazy, it is a few lines. So let me check so this is for our wrapper, right? We want to change the order. So language wrapper, we will add media query, screen and max width 767 pixels. We want to change the flex direction to column. Yeah. Ooh, sorry, I forgot about selector. Flex direction, column. Let's try. Yeah. Looks okay for the first one. So what's going on with this one? Why it didn't work? Did I forgot? Row reverse, right? Because we have row reverse down below, right? And we can fix this because we have higher specificity here, row reverse. So we can actually add as a second thing, or just do .html. So we will have the same thing. Refresh. Come on. It still requires some specificity. So let's add div. Because it is div, right? Yeah, div indeed. Okay, refresh. Yeah, so now we have columns, right? The only thing, or we can do this, or we can just move it to the end of the section and just make sure that we are actually fitting the same. And then we can just use just language selector like that. And what we want to set is width of this one, right? Should be 100%. So for our box, width 100%. Yeah. Refresh. Now we have 2 sections. I think it looks good. Pretty easy. Yeah, so if it goes big, we have as rows. If you make it smaller, it becomes sections. We can change the font size as well, but you got the point how to do that. It's not a big pain. Maybe we can do this. Okay, let me do this quickly. So we have language wrapper dot title. So here I will add language wrapper title, and here I will have something like font size. Let me check what do you have for the font size. Where's the titles? Font size 2. Is it font size 2 for now? Yeah, font size 2. So we can change it to font size, for example, 1.5 M. Yep. Refresh. Definitely didn't work. Yeah, right, because we have more selectors here again. Oh my gosh. Because I was crazy with selectors. So let's do the same with these selectors. CSS. And here we want to have HTML. Refresh. Beautiful. Yep. Look at this. Nice page. And for text, I would say that we want to set, because we're not doing actually anything for text class, we want to say font size 1M. Let's check. 0.75. Too small. 875, I think the next number that people use. Yeah, looks good, right? Look at us. We definitely need to fix this one and potentially have the hamburger menu on the top. But yeah, now it is responsive, which is great, which is what we want. Let's quickly try to build the next section. And I think we can do that successfully as well. So we've finished with this one. Let me prepare the next section. Here we want to have, sorry, too many swipes. Ways, let's call it learning ways. So we want to have div. Let me think. So we want to have the container because we want to have the background, right? So we want to have something like learn ways, and there we want to have div with container class, container, and there we want to have h2, h4 potentially. Let's say h2 plus h4 plus you want to have a list, which I will call cards, right? Or ways. Let's call it ways. And there I will have li, and inside my li I will call, so the class will be way, and inside my li I want to have image, so div.image, and inside I have image, right? But this is just one thing. Plus I want to have another group of, like, let's say details, or details. Div details, and there I want to have potentially h4, h3 maybe, h4, maybe h4. So here potentially that should be h3, just to keep hierarchy. h4, and that should end p element, right? And p element. We want to wrap all of these li's into parentheses and multiply 3 because we have 3 cards. Done. We have our HTML. Quickly. So let me copy the text, paste, copy this text, paste, copy this one. So I'm just you mean if you talking about Emmet, I'm just pressing tab. Yeah, tab. Thank you, Emana. So introduction, let me just add this one. Then we have another table, another title, and the last one. Sorry for swiping left and right too many times. I think this is it. So let's go, refresh. Woohoo! We have HTML, right? Great. So now we can quickly style that. And let's say ways section. Right? So let's start from the very top. So here, so H2 text align center for sure, because we want to put our text to the center, and we want to do the same with H3. So we can just copy, put comma, and put H3. Refresh, great, we are here. We also want to have the background gray. So I will set for the whole long ways, learning ways, sorry, background color to something like DDD, which is gray. Yep, too dark, maybe too dark. EEE. Yeah, EEE is better. We want to add some padding top and bottom as well. So padding, I don't know, 3M and 0. Refresh. Yeah, great. And we have our cards, which is awesome. Almost done. So let's move to our cards. So we don't care about every single because this is the same thing. So we will take ways. Right, first thing is ways, because this is a wrapper and I want to set, again, reset list style to remove dots. Then padding to 0 and margin to 0. Right, refresh, great. Now I want to put them in one line. So display, as you might guess, flex. Right, save, refresh. I have 3 cards, and the last bit now for our cards, I want to add ways.way, background color should be white. Refresh, great. The only problem here is that I want to have spacing between them. So theoretically, what I can set is for each element, I want to set width to 100 pixels, 300 pixels, as the smallest font is 320, yeah? And use space between, so justify content, space between to spread the rest of the space. So now I have spacing, yeah? Looks good. So we can theoretically, it's not width, it should be max width. Max width. Yeah, something like that. Beautiful. Okay. So next step, we want to have padding, right? We want to add images. So let's start with images. Let me export our images. First image is, I don't know, we will call it laptop. Yellow table. Be more descriptive. We already have a code, but let's call it, how do we want to call it? Code 2. Crazy name, code 2. And laptop table white, potentially. Laptop table white. Yep. So we are saving, and yeah, we have 3 images. So now we can actually add them to our source. So we have images. First was table yellow, right? We can actually add it as alt. Next was code 2, so images, and this is code 2, code screen with code. This is just a description, and the last one is images white, MacBook on white table, something like that. Okay, refresh. Beautiful. Look at us, almost there. Ooh, I don't like this great thing. Let me just zoom in. Right, sorry, I exported this gray thing. We need to re-export it. Be careful with this thing. So this is yellow one, right? Yellow table. Save, replace, and this one again, export. Make sure every time you export in something from Figma, make sure that you actually selecting the same. Yeah, save, and this one is code 2. Save, replace. Okay, go, refresh. Yeah, now we have 3 images, right? We just want to fit. In our case, we can just align them. So what we can do here for our way dot image is just margin 0 auto. Refresh. You definitely need to make sure that this is a display block, because by default image element is inline element, so block. So now we can apply margin. Come on, why are you not working? Am I selecting the wrong thing? Yes, I am selecting the wrong thing. Why I'm selecting? Because I have dot, and it's not a class, it's just an image element. Yeah. Which is great, but to be honest, I prefer, for my way, I prefer to have some padding, some consistent half of the size of 1, which is 7 pixels. Padding like this, huh? I think it looks nice. If you add padding with, for example, because this is the next trouble that you will have. See the trouble? To fix this, because if you have bigger padding for your image, that is why you want to have your container. So you have dot image. So for this one, you want to have overflow hidden to cut your image. And here with your image, you want to make sure that you're covering, which is object fit in a new syntax, and that should be just covered. So refresh. Now you can see that should be centered. Wait a second. Object fit. Let me check. Do they have center? No, they have cover. Okay, yeah, so you're covering actually, right? So even if your image is too big, you will cover your section. That is why you want to have the wrapper for that. But we don't want to have that big padding. Let me check. This one is fine. I think it looks nice. Without any extra effort, we just we just built these 3 things. The only thing maybe here, so margin, base, let me just check our base. Yeah, we can set margin 0, but potentially top and bottom we can have like 2M 0. Refresh, maybe more, 4. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. We also can add some border radius, maybe just to make it nicer, or maybe we can keep this angle like straight angles. And we want to add some shadow to the box. So we can do that with box shadow. And we can set like 2 pixels, so 0, 2 pixels, 4 pixels. You can try to follow me, and you need to do basically RGBA, and then the color, and then comma, and then another one. But if you're the lazy version of adding the shadow is like material, shadow, code pen. Yeah, so because if you know how to set shadow, you don't need to every time to write all these colors. And to copy pasting, I'm saying that you just copy paste the actual colors, the combination of the shadow, because you can look, oh, okay, so I'm fine with this one, and you just copy in the stylings. So if you go to this is card 3, I think it's a card 3, 1, 2, no, card 1, card 2, it's card 2, right? So you just copy in the combination. It's just random numbers that you can manually pick, or just look on them, say, okay, I like this one, and just paste it. So without guessing these numbers. Build on your own. Good way to learn. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, we have some conversation. It's being real. Thank you. So if you go back, refresh, we have actually shadows, right? We maybe want to decrease this padding. I still feel like padding is too big. Maybe half. But it's too small, right? This is the point. You can waste the whole day by picking the right number for the padding. Okay, yeah, I think this is fine. It's good enough, I would say. Yeah. Right. We actually, in 2 hours, we got to the 3rd section, which is not bad, to be honest. We have just 2 remain, and for this section, I can just show you how I would split the layout, because here it's just a container, and I would strongly sorry, it's not about copying. Yeah, sorry for that. So for this one, when you decide to build, but you continue and finish this landing page, what you can do for this section, for these images, just use this CSS grid. Why CSS grid? Because you can actually create markup with names, so you can actually create like columns. I will show you here as an example, like layout. And when you have display grid, you can have grid template areas, and you can name them like vertical. We're covering this stuff on our lessons, but let me show you, because this is we have a separate lesson for CSS grid, just CSS grid. So this is a separate thing. So vertical, then we have image, I don't know, 1, image 2, and on the next line we have again vertical. Sorry. Come on. We have the same vertical. What's going on? I'm pretty sure I just forgot the syntax. Can you imagine that? Vertical. Yeah, it doesn't like this. Grid template, let me quickly check that because I haven't used it for a while. So this is our, oh yeah, okay, so yeah, you're doing just in separate strings. So like this, and on the second row you have image 3 and image 4, right? So that will be your layout. And that means that now for your, let's say you have a image with plus vertical, and you will say that grid area, and you will say vertical, and that will take this area and this area, right? And this is what we have here. Basically it takes top and bottom because it technically 6 of them, right? And for example, you have image 1, you will say image 1, and that will take only this section. So this is how you do with CSS Grid. That will be the solution for you. So what is Emmet? I'm just reading messages from the chat. So Emmet is the tool that you can use to, yeah, thank you, Lester. It just helps you to build your CSS, HTML faster. So this is what I did before, like div.list, I don't know, list inside UL, inside li, multiply 4, right? Tab, and you have this. Same. Okay, great. I'm happy that we got that far. This is really awesome. Yeah, so we have just this section and the footer. I will push the code to the GitHub, to our GitHub, so you can find it there. I will publish this video on our YouTube channel as well, and I think this is all materials. Yeah, so next week we have just a promo evening. You might not be interested. If you're looking for a bootcamp, you can join. If not, then this is not for you. And we have, yeah, sure, I will send. If you by the way, if you booked your ticket on Eventbrite, I have your email, so I can send it to you all materials. Like I will do that. So for future events as well, just book your tickets on Eventbrite, so I will have your email, so I can share all materials from the lesson. Yes, I think this is it. So next time we will think about what will be useful for you to cover for the next time, and we will something organize for you. Will we have time to? Yeah, sure. I have questions. I have time for questions. Feel free to ask. My understanding that unscaled images can slow down the site load time. Solution fluid flex design, where images need to resize the page. Yes, yeah. So you're right. When you're loading like huge images with high resolution, that will slow your website. You're absolutely right. That is why we use things like figure, and we have source set. Give me a second. So image source set, responsive images, because you can set a few things, a few sizes based on the screen size, right? So basically what you do, you have your image tag and you're saying that I have a few sources for my image. If the screen size is this one, I want to load my small image. If the screen size is that one or bigger, I want to load this image. So you just load in different image, I mean the same image basically, but with different sizes. You can load different images, it doesn't matter. But yeah, we're covering that on HTML lessons on our bootcamp. But yeah, it's a separate topic. So this is the way how you actually handling and make your improve your performance for mobile development and for slower websites. For small screens. So this is actual thing, and probably the only way to handle your images. Yep. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, don't forget that if you want to have help, to get help. So the info session is next Saturday, and basically next Saturday we have our website, which is it's odd that I don't have it here in this page, but it is codersinhoods.dev. Yep, yeah, exactly. But next Saturday we'll organize the promo evening where we will answer all your questions about the bootcamp, how it's organized, how do you work, how we communicate, etc. So yeah, if you're interested, feel free to join. It is advertised on our meetup, in our meetup group, so feel free to join. Yes, I think this is it for today. Thank you, and I'll see you on our next events. We will definitely organize something fun for you. Thank you.